Hi everyone, I hope your study is going well. We are reading from the fifth parak of Bava Kama. We're on Memvav Amud Aleph. So we start with the Mishnah. Shur shanagach et hapara v'nimtza uvra b'tzida. So the case is an ox has gored a cow, and we find a fetus at the side of the cow. Ve'ein yadua im ad shalod nagcha yalda im mishanigcha yalda. And it's not known if up until it was gored, it had given birth, or if only after it was gored, the cow had given birth. So an ox attacks a cow, the cow dies from the attack, and the question is, did the fetus of the cow die before the attack happened? Was there a miscarriage, a spontaneous miscarriage, and the cow just happened to give birth to a dead fetus before the whole attacking happened? Or did the fetus die specifically because the ox attacked it? So in this case, how much do you pay? We're assuming here also that we're dealing with a shor tam, an ox that has not yet gored 3 times, and therefore it would have to pay chatzi nezek. So the deen is mishalem chatzi nezek lepara v'revia nezek levlad. In this case, since we're not sure, we have a safek about whether or not the ox was the one that killed the fetus, or if the fetus just died on its own, the owner of the ox would pay half damages for the cow, like it usually would for a case of a shor tam attacking an animal, and a fourth of the value of the fetus. Now we have a second case. V'chein para shenagcha et hashur. And so too, if a cow gores an ox, and we're assuming that this cow is also a para that's tam. V'nimtza vlada b'tzida. And this cow had been pregnant before it gored the ox. We find the dead fetus at the side of the cow that had attacked the ox. And we spoke about how the maximum value that someone would pay for the damage that their animal that's tam did cannot be greater than the value of the animal itself. So here, we're not sure if the cow miscarried the fetus before or after it attacked, and that will impact how much the owner of the cow will have to pay, the maximum that the owner of the cow will have to pay. So the question is, do we take the value of the fetus into account when we're calculating the maximum that the owner of the cow would have to pay? So again, here we have the same suffix. Ve'ein yadua im ad shelo nagcha yalda im mishanigcha yalda. So we don't know if up until it had gored, it had miscarried the fetus, or if it had miscarried the fetus only after it had gored. So in this case, the deen is mishtalem chatzi nezek min hapara. We calculate the maximum value that it would have to pay of the chatzi nezek from the cow, but then we take into account revia nezek min havlad. We take into account a quarter of the value of the fetus when we're calculating the maximum of the value of the cow toward its payment for the ox. Okay, so now the Gemara wants to know, who does this Mishnah go according to? We see that we had a safek, and in both of these cases with the safek of whether or not the cow had given birth before or after the goring, it seems like we split the difference. Amar Rav Yehuda comes and says, Amar Shmuel, in the name of Shmuel, Zo divrei simchus. These are the words of simchus. These words of the Mishnah that we just read go according to simchus. De Amar, that he says, Simchus says, Mamon hamotel b'safek cholkin. Money that is taken in doubt, we split. Aval chachamim omrim, but the rabbis say, in a case where you have a safek, zeh klal gadol badin. This is the great rule in judgment. Hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. Someone who is trying to take out from his friend, the proof is on him. So someone who is trying to get money from his friend, he's accusing someone else, you owe me money or you did damage to me. The burden of proof is on the accuser. So obviously, our Mishnah is going according to Simchus and not according to the rabbis. The rabbis would have said that in this case of the doubt with the fetus, we're not sure if the cow gave birth before or after. The burden of proof is the owner of the animal that got killed, that is supposed to be getting paid. He has to prove that the cow gave birth either before or after, whichever one will favor his judgment. The Gemara now wants to know about Chachamim's opinion. Lama li the Meimar zeh klal gadol badin. Why do I need for Chachamim to say that this is a great rule in judgment? When Chachamim are saying that the burden of proof is on the accuser, why did they need to introduce that rule by saying this is a great rule, this is a really big rule? So the Gemara gives us two answers. Here's the first answer. It's tarich. It is needed. We need Chachamim to tell us that this is a great rule. Da'afilu nizak omer bari b'mazik omer shema hamotzi mechaveiro alav haraya. So that even if the victim, the person who's accusing the other one, says, Bari, I'm certain that this person owes me money, I'm certain that this person damaged me, absolutely it happened. And the person being accused of being the attacker, the mazik, says, Shema, maybe it happened, I'm not sure. Still, even in that case, this is such a big rule. This rule is so all-encompassing when we have a safek that we'll still say, Hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. The person, the nizak, who's absolutely certain that the mazik owes him money, still needs to bring proof, even though the mazik is kind of unsure. He didn't completely deny that it happened. He says it could go either way. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Still, the burden of proof is on the nizak, the accuser, who's coming forward to say that the mazik owes him money. That's our first answer. Second answer, inami, alternatively, so we're introducing a second answer. L'chi had itmar, we needed the statement of zeh klal gadol badin for this, that which was stated, this coming case, hamocher shur l'chaviro v'nimtza nagchan. The case is someone sells an ox to his friend, and the friend, after he bought it, finds out and realizes that this ox is a goring ox. This ox is a dangerous ox that he's not going to be able to use for plowing. He wanted to use the ox for his farm, for plowing, and now he can't because he realizes that the ox is a violent ox. So what's the deen in this case? Can the buyer demand his money back? Rav Amar, Harei zeh mekach ta'ut. Rav says, this is a mistaken purchase. The buyer only bought the ox with the assumption that he could use it for plowing. He didn't know that it was a gor, therefore he can get his money back, no problem. V'Shmuel Amar, Yachol sheyomar lo l'shrita b'chartiv lecha. And Shmuel says, no, the buyer does not just get his money back, because the seller could say, I sold this ox for you for shlita, to kill it. I didn't realize that you wanted it for plowing. I assumed that you wanted this violent ox to kill it. So now we see that hamotzi michavero alav haraya, we learned this Rashi a little bit outside, that in most cases when people want to buy an ox, they want to buy it for the purpose of plowing. In this case, the buyer can say, I'm part of the majority, and the seller was part of the minority, and therefore I should get my money back. The seller should have assumed that I was buying this ox for the purpose that most people buy oxen, and that's for plowing. And yet, still Chachamim say in this case, Hamotzi michavero alav haraya. The buyer cannot just say, I did what a majority of people do, and that's why I should get my money back. The buyer needs to bring specific proof about this case that shows us that the seller knew that he was buying the ox for plowing and not for shchita. It's not enough for the buyer to rely on the majority. The buyer actually needs to bring concrete proof of what the seller was thinking or exactly of how the sale happened to prove that it was a mistaken purchase. So that's how we see again, Hamotzi michavero alav haraya is another way of explaining of why it's such a big rule, why it's such a big deal, and how it applies to so many cases. It even applies to a case where the nizak, the person coming forward and saying that money is owed to him, is basing his argument on what a majority of people do. That's not enough when it comes to bringing a ra'aya. The Gemara asks now a question about this whole machloka between Rav and Shmuel. Amai. Why are Rav and Shmuel arguing here? Let's see if this is a person, the buyer, who buys for plowing, or if it's a person, the buyer, who buys for shechting. Let's just look at the buyer's records, and we'll try to figure out who this guy is. Is he telling the truth when he says, I only buy oxen for plowing? Made it very clear that I wanted to buy an ox for plowing. I asked these kinds of questions. This is who I am. I only know about oxen for plowing. So we can just look at this guy's record, see if he's telling the truth or not. So now the Gemara answers, Lo tzricha. No, we do need this machloket between Rav and Shmuel about how to figure out if the buyer can pay or can get back his money or not, because it's a case begavra de zabin lahavalaha. We're talking about a person, the buyer, who buys for this and for this. He buys, sometimes he'll buy an ox for plowing, and sometimes he'll buy an ox for shechita. So we still need this machloket between Rav and Shmuel in general. But now the Gemara brings another point. V'nei chazeh, let's see, I dmei ridya l'ridya, I dmei nechsita l'nechsita. Let's look at how much the ox sold for. If it was the value of an ox that would have been sold for plowing, then we know it was for plowing. If it was the value of an ox that was sold for shchita, then we know it was for shchita. Then we wouldn't have machloket, and we could figure out if this was a mekach ta'ut, if it was a mistaken purchase or not. Lo tzricha. Now the Gemara tells us, no, we still need this machloket this machloket is still necessary. We still need it because it's the case de'okir bisra v'ka'e b'dimei ridya, that the value of meat went up, it became more expensive, and therefore it was standing in the value of plowing. So usually we would be able to generally tell the difference between an animal that was sold for plowing and an animal that was sold for shechita, because animals that are sold for shechita are usually sold for a lower price than animals for plowing. But in this case, the value of meat has gone up, and therefore, in these circumstances, the ox could have been sold for either purpose. Okay, now we're going to continue forward to Mem Vav Amud Bet. We learned a very short piece over here, starting with Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Minayin lahamotzi michaviro alav haraya. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani asks, from where do we know this rule of hamotzi michaviro alav haraya, that someone who accuses someone else has the burden of proof upon them? Shena Amar, as it is stated, Mi ba'al dvarim yigash alehem. So this is talking about, we can look in the Torah or, I have the Torah or Shalim, in your Gemaras you just have the Torah or plain. But the Torah or, if you have not the Shalim in your Gemaras, probably in the margins over here, you'll see that it says Shemot Chav Daled. So this pasuk is quoted from Sefer Shemot Perek Chav Daled. This is when Moshe is going up to Har Sinai. He's about to go up. And Hashem tells him that Moshe, since he's going up to the mountain, and the Zikanim are going to be at the foot of the mountain, and they're going to be very busy the whole time of Ma'amar Har Sinai, Moshe should put Aaron and Hor in charge. And Mi Va'al Dvarim, whoever is the owner of words, whoever has an accusation against someone else, during the time that Moshe was on Har Sinai, usually they would go to Moshe and the Zikanim, but instead, Yigash Aleihem. He should come close to them. He should come forward to Aaron and Hor. So the Gemara now focuses on this word yigash, to come close. Why is the Torah telling us that he needs to come close? Yagish ra'aya alehem. This person not only should come forward physically and bring his case to Aaron and Hor, but he should bring with him proof to them. So that's our source of hamotzi michavir alav haraya. But now the Gemara attacks. Mat kifla Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi attacks this. Halama likra. Why do I need a pasuk for this? Svarahu. It's logic. We could figure this out based on reason. When someone has a wound that's hurting him, he should go to the doctor. So Rav Ashi comes and says, I don't need a pasuk for you to tell me why Chachamim said that the burden of proof is on the victim, because it's logical. If the victim hadn't come forward, then there would be no problem and everyone would just go home, right? No one would be there. So Rav Ashi is saying, I could have figured out that since the victim is causing all this trouble, he's the one that's coming forward and he's the one that wants his money from the other person, then the burden of proof is on him.